So we are setting off here on the XC60.
Continue on California 1 north for 3 miles.
Definitely gets up and moves. So this is just going to be my initial impressions on the XC60 for the second channel. If you like this type of video where I just do a point of view, initial impressions with driving, then just let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, I can definitely do more stuff like this. But let's first just kind of talk about how this feels. First off, I really like the seats. So they're kind of like a mix between cloth and leather, which is definitely interesting. You don't have the air-conditioned seat function, well, notably probably because of that. But the bolstering feels nice. The seats feel really good. They really hold you in place very well. And yeah, overall, it's just a comfortable experience from a seat perspective. Now, aside from that, initially driving it still has that normal like Volvo driving characteristic where it feels smooth and feels nice. I will say I just drove the V90 before this. This has the same powertrain, I'm pretty sure, because this is a B6 as well. I'll go over all of that in the main review. Again, this is just initial impressions. It doesn't feel as quick, and I mean, it makes sense, right? It's an SUV, so it's higher up off the ground by a little bit, and so it's not going to be as fast as the well, they don't call it a wagon, but it is pretty much a wagon, right? With the V90. But yeah, that's kind of how it initially feels. I'm going over like the little bumps and stuff. It's great. This does come with air suspension on all 4 corners, which the V90 just had the air suspension in the rear, and it's interesting to feel the difference with how they drive. Just because, again, with having 4 corner air suspension versus just rear air suspension, I wouldn't say that this is any smoother, but going over bumps and everything, maybe it soaks it up just slightly better, but it's almost imperceivable. That wagon, because of how long it is, again, wagon, it felt just smoother overall. This, on the other hand, with the short, it definitely looks shorter, feels shorter as well with the driving characteristic. It seems like it's not as smooth, so it seems like the longer vehicle kind of actually helps that a little bit more. But aside from my jumbled thoughts, I guess the other thing I can mention is just the overall feel of this interior initially. This one's a little bit darker interior wise, which I think it still looks really good. Now I've got the sunroof open, so that's a little bit of extra light into the cabin. And I will say, like, material use on the dash is very nice. The speakers for the sound system look really nice. The touch points, like the steering wheel, that's also really nice as well. Yeah, the buttons on the steering wheel, like, everything's nice. There's nothing on the airbag cover, which I mentioned.
Turn right onto
GPS.
Road.
The airbag cover doesn't have leather stitching on it, which I wish it did for being a luxury car. But the Volvo logo does look pretty good. I love the shifter, how it's wrapped in leather.
Take the next right onto Canaan Road.
I guess this is also a review of the GPS. The one thing I do like about this, the Google GPS here, is it's not obnoxious. So sometimes, you guys know, like I feel like it's with my iPhone with the Apple Maps, is it takes forever to say like the sentences with the GPS, and so it's just like, it gets in the way. Whereas this is just like, turn right, turn left, turn right, and then it's just gone, and it's not like super, it doesn't like interrupt too much. You can imagine that could get really annoying if you're listening to music or something like this, something like that. Now, this is more of a back road, basically, and so this will give us a little bit with the handling initially and all that kind of stuff. And what I'd have to say is this powertrain's really good, actually. Like, getting up to speeds, it's solid. You've got tons of low-end torque, and I feel like I just always get power all throughout the power band. The one thing I will say is I don't really feel like this is the type of car that I want to drive super hard. California people. At least the brakes are good, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I don't feel like I have to go full throttle or anything like that. I feel like partial throttle is where it feels best at, because you're kind of like always in peak torque. Whereas full throttle, I mean, obviously accelerates a little bit quicker, but then you kind of fall out of peak torque, and so it doesn't feel as like good. And so this is kind of a vehicle that you just you know, mosey along over partial throttle, and it trust me though, it gets up and moves at a really good pace. Now moving along a little bit further on the route here for the initial impression, something that I'm also really impressed with is the body control, and another Rolls-Royce. Man, I'm seeing them everywhere. It's crazy. again, I never see them, so it's like always exciting for me. But yeah, the body control is really good. Like, you don't get like a ton of like, this road's kind of like up and down, and it's, you know, it's going with it really well and it's smooth, but like it's not moving all over the place, and there's pretty minimal body roll for being an SUV. Like it's, and there's another one. Oh, that's a Bentley actually. But yeah, it does a really good job with just soaking things up. But not only that, it does a really good job with just kind of going over stuff. And you guys can see, like with the road, you've got these little bumps everywhere to kind of let you know if you're going over the lane. Smart. But yeah, going over them, oh, of course, I like somehow dodged every single one as I was crossing the lane. It doesn't upset the suspension or anything. It stays like nice and planted. I was trying to show something for the video and it won't do it. Let's see if I'll change lanes again because there's no one behind me. See if I can hit a couple. There we go. There we go. So you guys can see it does a really good job with kind of like just going over, soaking it up. Doesn't upset the chassis, doesn't upset your spine either. So yeah, they've done a really good job from a suspension standpoint with just making it feel really comfortable. And also going up this road, like partial throttle the whole time. You have so much torque that you can just keep going. I bet this Prius in front of us, he's like pedal to the metal all the way down, all the way up that hill, right? Whereas again, I'm just kind of like leisurely going up the hill. Yeah, everything this goes over, I'm expecting it to get upset. I'm expecting to like feel harshness, and I don't. Volvo's done a really good job with kind of getting that all out. And then the other thing I want to mention is the sound system. In that little break right there, I kind of listened to a little bit. Sound system's great, and it's the same thing that was in the V90 that I was in earlier. Sound quality's just as good, so I didn't really need to listen to it for all that long. I was like, oh, it sounds the same. Sound system's really crisp. It almost feels like one of those high-end home audio systems, which I'm really impressed with. So I think that Volvo's done a great job with that. And also, you see what I did there? Merge lane, use my turn signal. California folks, trust me, it's worth it. And going into this little tunnel right here, this will be fun. Let's see how she goes. Heard a little bit of turbo noise. That's fun. The engine's not obnoxious when you go full throttle. Like, yeah, you do get some of those 4-cylinder sounds, but you just mostly get like turbo noise. It's just like the whistle. You just get like a little bit of turbo whistle, and it's really nice overall. And now I can kind of talk a little bit more about the handling here now, because we're kind of on a curvier part, basically. Yeah, see, I just went over little bump, and I didn't, like, back end didn't step out or anything like that. That's good. Yeah, Volvo's done a really good job with the body control. That's what I'm kind of most impressed with right now, is how smooth it is, and then how controllable it is as well from a body control perspective. And it handles really flat. Yeah, it almost doesn't feel like I'm sitting up higher, so like I feel like I'm in an SUV, but it handles pretty flat. It almost feels like I'm not in an SUV from a handling perspective because of how flat it is. And it's, dare I say, it's almost nimble in a sense. It's kind of, it really does have this nimbleness to it. Yeah, really good. And you can just, I mean, you have so much torque. Like, you have to slow down for a corner, you can just punch right out, and it just scoots. It really does. It's fun. It's actually got a level of fun to it from a driving perspective, just because of how quick it is. Everything. Yeah, I love the steering feel. Like, I can't necessarily, I wouldn't say you like can really feel what's happening on the front end, right? What, you know, car journalists always talk about, they're like, I really feel in touch with the car. I wouldn't say that. But what I will say is the steering's very direct, and the car's super controllable. It's easy to just change direction. It handles great. Really, it handles great overall. So let's kind of sum things up for my initial impressions here with this new XC60. And this is kind of like the it's like a light, well, more of like a heavy refresh is what I'll call it. They're calling it a facelift, which is, you know, AKA heavy refresh. So first off, exterior wise, I've always been a fan of the XC60. This is my favorite Volvo from like an appearance standpoint. I think it's just perfectly proportioned, and it just doesn't have a bad angle. Like if I was gonna get a Volvo from like an appearance perspective only, I would get the XC60. Like I don't know, I love the looks of it. Interior wise, it's really nice. The seats are comfortable, really nice bolstering, so it holds you in place. But the bolsters are wide enough that if you're a bigger person, you'll still be able to fit in these seats, no problem. And on top of that, the interior it's just a nice place to be. There's nice materials all around. The touch points feel really nice. Everything feels very well put together and high quality as well. Sound system's great. The only thing I can knock this for is I wish I had ventilated seats. Like I like how these seats look, but I'd rather have ventilated seats than have this like mixture of cloth and leather and everything. Like it wouldn't look as cool from a design perspective, but then my butt would be cooler. So I'll take a cool butt over cool looking seats. Ben Hardy 2021. Aside from that, it's got a great driving experience. So far it's comfortable. Turn-in's great. It's got decent power. It's not crazy fast, but it's more than enough to get up to speed. Doesn't feel as quick as the V90. And it's just a really good luxury car. That's what I have to say. Is it really nails the luxury car checklist. So if you're just looking for like a very nice, well put together luxury car, from my initial impressions, it does a really good job. And also it gets good fuel economy as well. We'll kind of go over that in the full review that I'll do with this. But fuel economy is strong. And so, yeah, it's not necessarily like crazy in any aspect, but like it hits all the key points. And so it's just a very well-rounded car is what I'm kind of getting from my initial impressions. But that's going to sum things up. Again, if you guys want me to do more videos like this where I just give initial driving impressions on cars before doing like a full review on them, then let me know in the comment section below and I can post more content like this on the second channel. POV style, just kind of throwing stuff out there. Obviously, nothing crazy from a production standpoint, but you know what? Pretty fun. I'll see you guys.